I'm curious to hear what your thyroid diet is all about, so our listeners can really understand, like, what food should I be, food should I be eating, and what food should I be avoiding?
Yeah, so it kind of comes back to that, the two questions I just mentioned. What are the things that we might get through our diet that might be stressing our thyroid function? And what are the things that we're missing or we can use to support thyroid function? So let's start with the things that might be taxing. We already mentioned a couple. So gluten for people who have celiac disease or even who have non-celiac gluten intolerance, because it can cause a whole kind of avalanche of inflammation in the body that can affect the thyroid. And interestingly, celiac disease is kind of like a partner to thyroid disease. And a lot of physicians don't know that, but I always look for Hashimoto's in my patients with celiac, and I always look for celiac in my patients with Hashimoto's. So that's one thing, is gluten. I look at dairy only because a lot of people, about 50% of people who eat dairy have an inflammatory reaction to it. And it can cause something called leaky gut, which can be associated with thyroid problems. So I'll usually have my patients take out gluten and dairy to start. Interestingly, artificial sweeteners have been shown, even just a week of using artificial sweeteners, so Splenda, NutraSweet, any of those things can have an impact on the thyroid. So those go out too. And then I try to put my patients on a generally low inflammation diet. So lots of vegetables, especially leafy greens. And we'll talk about those in just a minute because they have a special place with thyroid health. Good quality fats, good quality protein, and maintaining energy balance. Remember I said earlier that if your body is low on energy, then your adrenals will step in and your whole system will step in and try to keep you from spending too much energy. So when we have chronically low energy or low blood sugar, that triggers a whole response in the adrenals to slow the thyroid down to make you save that energy. So making sure that you're not getting low blood sugar is really important. A couple of other things are important. There's a chemical that's in a lot of fast rising flours, pizza doughs, baked products. It's a mineral, actually. It's called bromide. But bromide can interact with the thyroid. And because iodine is important for the thyroid and it's in the same class of chemical elements, I recommend getting your diet bromide free. So it really does mean avoiding kind of commercial baked goods. But if you're avoiding gluten, you'll usually end up avoiding those too. And then, interestingly, fluoride. Bromide, fluoride, iodide. They're all in that halide chemical group that if you ever studied chemistry, it's in that periodic table. Too much fluoride in the diet, whether it's from fluoridated water or you're getting it through other sources, even toothpaste, go to non-fluoride toothpaste, can help with thyroid function too. So those are some of the big picture things. Now, Drew, you mentioned earlier heavy metals. We're all getting exposed to persistent organic pesticides, plastics, heavy metals. These also act as thyroid binding disruptors. So as much as one can afford to, going organic, not using food packaged in plastics, not heating your food or storing your food in microwave, in plastic containers. And then to the extent that you can avoid heavy metals in the diet by going organic, those are all just, those are big things, but really important to do, even if you just pick a few of them, at a time. And then what are we missing that we can use to support thyroid health? Well, I mentioned greens. Greens are really important for inflammation. And some of you may have heard, oh, you can't eat kale, you can't eat broccoli, you can't eat anything in that class of vegetables if you have a thyroid problem. That's not actually true. Those vegetables are really helpful for you in general, but you don't want to eat them raw. If you eat a kale salad once in a while, once every few weeks, that's fine. But juicing kale, juicing your leafy greens, not so much when you have a thyroid problem. Eat them steamed, eat them sauteed, eat them roasted, but just focus less raw on those. Lettuces, those are fine. Lettuce, spinach, that's all fine. But the kale, collards, broccoli, bok choy, all of that, cooked. So there are several nutrients that our bodies require to make thyroid hormone. So we start with iodine. That's the main building block of thyroid hormone. So you have to get enough iodine in your diet. And a lot of people don't. And if you're vegan or don't eat fish, if you're not using iodized sea salt, most of us don't, right? We're using healthier non-iodized sea salt or Himalayan salt. So you might not be getting enough iodine in your diet. One thing you can do is add sea vegetables. I know these are going to sound really weird if you're not familiar with them, but dulse, alaria, wakame. You can even buy dulse flakes at the health food store and put a couple of teaspoons in your food every day. Or you can take a multivitamin that has iodine in it, which everyone who's trying to get pregnant or is pregnant should make sure they're getting at least 290 micrograms of iodine in their prenatal or multivitamin every day. So iodine in the diet or in iodized salt, which is I'm not a huge fan of, or through a multi. And then selenium is another one. We do tend to get selenium in our diet through the soil, but it's really inconsistent. And, this is another thing. Soil has been studied. Foods have been studied for their nutrient content. And most of these nutrients are not in the soil the way they were 50 or 75 or 100 years ago, or in our food. So statistically, someone did a study in the UK looking at citrus. And to get the amount of vitamin C that our grandparents or great-grandparents would have gotten out of an orange, we'd have to eat 6 to 8 oranges now. So just to give you an example.
Wow.
Right.
So supplementing, and I'm not a huge supplement physician. I don't prescribe supplements all the time. I don't take supplements every day myself, quite frankly. But if you are struggling with a thyroid problem, have a family history of one, or want to try to prevent one, or are pregnant, selenium is another nutrient, and you want to get that in your multivitamin as well. It's usually about 200 micrograms a day therapeutically if you do have a thyroid problem. And then making sure you're taking care of your other systems, right? So magnesium and B complex for stress is really, really important. Making sure you have enough vitamin D. Interestingly, low vitamin D has been associated with an increased risk of thyroid problems. And giving vitamin D, even 2,000 to 4,000 units a day, which is a pretty standard daily dose, has been shown to reverse or reduce thyroid problems. So vitamin D is really important, also super important for the immune system too. So whether you have autoimmune or non-autoimmune, that's another really important one.